moved my cheese. Immediate thoughts, I will not lie, this book is cheesy. Almost as cheesy as that pun I just made. But it's still a good one to check out. I'm sorry. I really think that some of the books I'm reading impact me much more than I initially think. This book is about change and how we handle it. And didn't we all just go through a major change in our lives with the coronavirus? Change is inevitable, so we should be ready to face it and know how to react to it. Let me introduce you to our characters, Sniff and Scurry and Him and Haw. They live happily in a maze and are settled down at a cheese station. The cheese in this story could represent anything that brings you security. A relationship, a job, money, Ben & Jerry's. Well, one day they wake up and someone moved their cheese supply. The audacity. Each character reacts differently. Sniff sniffs out the change early. Scurry hurries into action. The two of them leave the empty station and search for new cheese. Him wants to stay in his old ways, and Haw is in the middle and goes on an uncomfortable adventure through the maze and teaches us about change along the way. As you think about this story, it's really useful to figure out which character you are. It's a crazy simple story with some really cool analogies. So what did I learn? 3 main things. Firstly, old beliefs do not lead you to the new cheese. At one point, Haw says, sometimes Him, things change and they are never the same again. That's life. Life moves on and so should we. As much as I wish it did, life is not going to wait around for us. We have to be willing to adapt so we don't become extinct. The book says, the quicker you let go of the old cheese, the sooner you find the new cheese. Change can be uncomfortable and painful, but it is better for us to be uncomfortable in the maze than to stay in a place with no cheese. So why is change scary? What keeps us from changing? Simply put, somewhere in our core, we have fearful beliefs that immobilize us. Once we name those fears, it's a lot easier to move forward. And if we look closely, a lot of our fears are irrational and keep us from moving. Now, to be clear, some fear is good and it keeps us safe. But if it keeps you from doing anything, it's not the good kind. Think, what would you do if you weren't afraid? It is better to be in control and to be uncomfortable than to stay put and let things happen to you. Secondly, as we navigate the maze, we should focus on what we are gaining rather than losing. Maybe you were supposed to go to your first semester of college this fall, or your child was. Instead of thinking about the loss of experience, think about the gain of time you have together. I was supposed to move halfway across the country, and because of the changes that are happening in our world, I'm at home for a bit. And I could dwell on how I'm missing out on a new city and new friends and new food, but I'm so thankful for this time to spend with my family. Time that I would have never had otherwise. And in this way, I'm focusing on what I'm gaining rather than what I'm losing. Lastly, smell the cheese often so you know when it's getting old. When I read this, I actually wrote in my book, what does this really mean? Well, after pondering, I concluded that it means to stay on your toes. It's okay to be comfortable, but not too comfortable. You know, old cheese doesn't smell that great, and you want to make sure that your cheese is not getting moldy. So we should be constantly exploring the maze and checking for hints of change around us. A lot of times, if we pay attention, we can see the signs of change in front of us. Maybe this looks like a relationship is falling apart a little bit, and if you're checking in on that relationship, you should be able to see the signs. This doesn't necessarily mean that you need to change the relationship itself, but maybe you need to let go of your old behavior that hurts the relationship. And the book says, sometimes the new cheese is the new relationship with the same person. When things change, we have to be ready and willing to change. It won't be so jarring if we are expecting it. I want to continue to stay on my toes with the changes in life. And I really hope this was helpful for those of you who are tackling change. If you have any advice on how to handle change, drop it in the comment section. And a big thank you to Laura Smith for recommending this book. If you've enjoyed this video, check out my other book reviews by following the hashtag #TheSpinalTap. And until next time, happy reading!